Most Native Americans lived in regional groups based on where people lived and the different languages they spoke. The Eastern Woodlands were a large group of Native Americans. They included many different tribes and nations. They were called the Eastern Woodlands because they had so much of their culture and daily life based on the lands around them. They used the land and its resources to their benefit. They used rivers for transportation and fishing. They used rocks and wood to make tools for hunting. They made clothes out of animal hides. They used tree trunks to build their own canoes. Even their homes were made from things they found around them, like tree bark and animal hides. Their land was rich and fertile, which helped the people of the Eastern Woodlands as they developed farming. The men used sharp points carved from rocks and animal bones for hunting. They also used bows and arrows as well. Since Eastern Woodland natives farmed, they tended to live in permanent villages. They were not nomads like their ancestors may have been. The Native Americans of the Eastern Woodlands worked the land together. They did not believe the land belonged to any one person or group. The land was there for all of them to use and benefit from. To create more farmland, the native people cut down trees and burned the brush. This was called slash and burn agriculture. Women in these Indian villages gathered fruits and nuts, but they were also farmers. They used tools made out of bone to work the land and harvest the crops. The primary crops were corn, pole beans, and squash. These were known in many Eastern Woodland tribes as the Three Sisters. Pumpkins and gourds were also planted. Many tribes even grew their own tobacco. There were many Eastern Woodland tribes in South Carolina. Their lifestyle and culture depended upon where they lived. South Carolina tribes spoke different languages, but they all relied on the oral tradition of storytelling to preserve the history of their people. The three most important tribes were the Cherokee of the mountains, the CATAWBA of the Piedmont region, and the YEMASSEE who lived along the coast. The Cherokee were an Eastern Woodland tribe who lived in the foothills and the mountains of South Carolina. They called themselves the Real People, and they were a powerful Indian nation. The Cherokee lived in villages of up to 600 people, and they took specific steps to ensure their people were protected and safe. Their summer homes were open to the air. Their winter homes were round structures with thick walls. The men fished by poisoning the water with walnut bark. This stunned fish and made them rise in the water where they could easily be gathered. Leaders of the village, including women, met as a council to make rules for the Cherokee Nation. In times of peace, the village was led by a white leader. In times of war, a red leader took over. Each village also had a holy man or holy woman. The CATAWBA, they called themselves the River People, and they lived along the rivers of the Piedmont region in villages that were also safe and protected. Their homes were wigwams made from small trees covered with bark, grass, or reeds. The CATAWBA also had council houses in their villages, where leaders made the rules for the people. The CATAWBA were great potters. They primarily used clay that they would shape into pots. The YEMASSEE had come from Spanish Florida, what's now present-day Georgia, but they later moved to the coast of South Carolina. They settled near the mouth of the Savannah River. During the summer, people lived on the beach in wigwams. They covered them with palmetto leaves, which were found all over the area. During the fall, winter, and spring, they lived further inland. They built homes like the Cherokee there. Clams and oysters were a big part of their diet, and they also had a council that even included women at times.